the 18th century, when most people feared falling off the edge of the earth, one man looked up and asked, "What if we could fly?" Wasn't just a scientist. He was a dreamer, and one of the very first to risk everything to rise above the earth. In 1783, balloon flight was still a wild fantasy. But Rosier teamed up with the Montgolfier brothers, who were experimenting with a new invention. The hot air balloon, a giant linen envelope lifted by heated air, created using a fire below. Before he stepped inside, Rosier helped oversee the very first test flight, with a sheep, a duck, and a rooster aboard. Not humans, but close enough. The goal: to see if any living creature could survive being carried into the sky. They did, and that gave Rosier the confidence to try it himself. Later that year, he made history, the first human to ascend in a tethered balloon, and shortly after, the first to take an untethered, free flight. There were no engines, no navigation, just heated air, rising sky, and the courage to let go. But Rosier wasn't content with just rising above Paris. He wanted to cross the English Channel. To do that, he designed a hybrid balloon, part hot air, part hydrogen. It was a fatal combination. Halfway across, the hydrogen ignited. The balloon exploded midair. Rosier became the first person in history to die in an air crash. But what he left behind wasn't just a tragedy. It was a blueprint. He proved that human flight wasn't just possible, it was inevitable. And he did it not because it was safe, but because he believed it was worth the risk. Long before rockets, satellites, or space agencies, one man in ancient China decided to strap fireworks to a chair and aim for the stars. The name is Wan Hu, a Chinese official from the Ming Dynasty. And depending on who you ask, he might be the very first person to attempt spaceflight. Over 600 years ago, the story goes like this. Wan Hu was fascinated with the heavens. In a time when astronomy and astrology were deeply intertwined, the skies weren't just stars. They were realms of mystery and power. So he built himself a homemade rocket chair. 47 gunpowder-filled rockets were tied to a large wooden throne. 2 kites were attached for stability. And on launch day, Wan Hu sat proudly in his seat, 47 gunpowder rockets strapped below him, tied with twine and faith. The servants, 12 of them, stand frozen, 2 holding massive fans to clear the smoke when it starts. Nobody breathes. His robes flutter in the breeze. He lifts his gaze up toward the sky that has mocked him for years. No helmet, no harness. One servant, the youngest, steps forward, clutching a torch. The crackling begins. Sparks crawl toward the rockets like snakes, waking from slumber. People step back, way back. He doesn't flinch. And then, a violent roar. A burst of smoke, so thick it swallows everything. The throne jolts, wood creaks, flames lick the air, and just like that, He's gone. The smoke clears, but Wan Hu's throne is empty. No body, no debris, just burn marks. Was he incinerated? Did he shatter in midair? Or did he fly? Some say the stars gained a new ghost that day, the man who tried to ride fire to heaven. But maybe that's the point. He wasn't a scientist. He wasn't an engineer. He was a dreamer, reckless, bold, and beautifully human. In an age of emperors and dynasties, he looked up at the stars and dared to reach them. Today, we launch rockets with math and precision. But Wan Hu, he launched his with fire, hope, and a chair. And somehow, that feels just as important. Before rockets, before spacesuits, before NASA, there was a bishop who wanted to fly to the moon using wings and a chariot. In the 1600s, John Wilkins wasn't just a theologian. He was a bold thinker who believed that science and religion could coexist, and maybe even take us to the stars. Wilkins proposed that the moon was inhabited. He called it the New World in the Moon, and he wasn't joking. He envisioned actual travel there, with a flying chariot powered by springs, wings, and perpetual motion. Because, gravity hadn't been figured out yet. He believed that since birds could fly, humans just needed the right mechanism. And once we got high enough, he assumed gravity would just stop pulling, and that the moon could be reached in mere weeks. Fade into the city of Cordoba, 9th century. Golden sunlight spills over rooftops, and a strange buzz hums through the crowd gathering near a tall tower. The year is 875, and on a windswept hill in Al-Andalus, a man prepares to fall from the sky. Scholar, poet, inventor, stands at the edge of a tower, arms outstretched, but not bare. He's wearing wings, silk and wood, feathered like an eagle, wrapped tightly to his arms and back. He doesn't just want to fly. He wants to prove that man can dance with gravity, not be ruled by it. The crowd murmurs, uneasy. This isn't a stunt. It's something else, something ancient, something cosmic. He'd spent years studying birds, designed lenses, built water clocks, wrote about the stars. But now, he's putting it all on the line, his ideas, his body, his life. He leaps. Sound fades, a rush of wind, silence. For a moment, he flies, glides. The wings catch the air. He crashes hard, injures his back. Later, he'd say his design lacked a tail, the secret to balance. But he survives. He may not have conquered the skies, but he left a crack in the heavens. One others would later widen into runways, rockets, and dreams, in a time when flight was myth and madness. He showed what it meant to defy the world as it is, and chase the world as it could be. He didn't have engines. He didn't have safety nets, but he had imagination and the courage to test it against gravity. Today, his name is etched in lunar craters. Airports bear his name, and quietly, somewhere in the back of every pilot's mind, is a man who once leapt from a tower, wrapped in silk and hope, because history isn't just made by those who succeed. It's made by those who try, when no one else even dares. If stories like this stir something in you, that quiet, curious ache to look up and wonder, then you'll probably like what's coming next. So go ahead, leave a like, maybe subscribe. There are more dreamers to meet, more skies to chase. See you in the next one.